One of the most important yet confusing aspects with buying property is valuing it accurately.
Working out what a property is worth can be hard.
You smell that? What is that?
A cologne?
No.
Opportunity.
No. Money.
And it's important to know that you don't necessarily need to be paying the list price when you make an offer. If you follow a couple of tips in this video today, we'll show you a way of getting 8 to 10% off the listed price.
So today we're going to dive in and show you the exact steps you need to take to valuing your property accurately. Let's dive right in. When it comes to working out how much your property is worth, it's best to start with looking for similar properties like yours. This is step one, comparing apples with apples. Jaden, practically what does that look like?
Yeah, so you want to look at properties in the same suburb within 2 kilometers that have the same amount of bedrooms, that are on the same size block of land, or if it's a unit, the same square meterage, and the same bathrooms and car parks. You need it to be basically the same. The reason being, if you're comparing a 2-bedroom house to say a 4-bedroom house, the values can be very different. For the reason that you can potentially rent out the extra bedroom, it might cost you about $100,000 to add an extra bedroom, and it can really affect these values. So like Nathan said, you got to compare apples with apples to make sure that the property that you're buying is similar to some of the ones that have sold recently.
All right, so let's go through an example of comparing apples with apples. We'll use this example of a home that's for sale in Tarragindi in Queensland. So when you're trying to find comparable sales, you want to look for something that's got 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 car space on a 607 square meter block. This is important, but it's also the location. So you need to sort of take into consideration how far it is from train stations and that sort of thing. A good tool for that, which we covered in last week's video, is walk score. You can find out the sort of walk score, the transit score, how far it is from downtown, and get a good idea on the other properties that are in the area. So let's look at that. So some other recently sold properties comparing to this property are these that are listed here in front of us. So 7 Lana Street in Tarragindi, 34 Price Street. Now when comparing them, again, we're looking at 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom, but this one has 2 car spaces. The other thing to notice when comparing, say, our original 150 Price Street, is the land is slightly smaller. So this land sold, this land was $665. So you could say that's why this property is potentially superior and it has sort of a higher value. Definitely use that to compare, because there's no point looking at 4-bedroom sales because they're just going to be completely inaccurate.
So step number 2 is comparing superior and inferior properties. So Jaden, walk me through what this looks like.
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit more fickle, and it can come down to a bit of an opinion. But generally speaking, if you're comparing a brand new property that's got brand new kitchen, bathrooms, all that stuff, with older properties, it's not really fair. So you'd class the newer property as superior. It's the same with finishes. If you've got sort of laminate bench tops and pretty cheap kitchens, compared to if you've got Caesar stone and marble, they're going to consider the latter a bit more superior. So you've got to kind of take note of this. We've got an inspection checklist that you can look at. We'll include a link below. But going through the property in a bit more detail and working out what's superior, what's inferior, does it have a pool, does it have solar panels, all these little things can make a property seem superior and inferior, and then that's how you categorize them in the suburb.
Now for point number 2, comparing superior to inferior, this comes down to some of the finishes in the house. So for example, the place that I want to buy on Prior Street has a pretty basic kitchen, has, nice enough, needs some new curtains and stuff, but it's pretty basic, right? Now, if we're comparing it to, say, one of the sales I had there, let's look at this Lana Street in Tarragindi. You can simply just look on Google, click on the previous photos, and let's look at, the outside's the same, on the inside, probably pretty similar. Similar sort of level of kitchen, similar sort of finishes, could go with a bit of paint, but still not bad. So I would say they would be broadly similar, because it's a bit of a hard one. It's it's all opinionated, but if you compare that kitchen to the one that we're looking at buying, they're pretty similar, let's be honest. The only difference between those 2 properties, Lana Street and Prior Street, is that this has slightly larger land. On the next comparable sale I had there, it was 34 Prior Street. So this one's on the same street as the one that we're looking at buying. Again, you just stick it in Google, you look at some of the photos and have a flick through to get a see on what it's like. Now, this one's usually a giveaway. If they don't have photos of the inside, it usually means it was pretty nasty. So not a good one to compare there, but you get the idea. The last one, 183 Toohey Street, different area of the suburb, so it's worth keeping that in mind. Again, all the photos on Google, you can have a flick through. Quite nice, kind of worse kitchen if you're honest, and that. So it's best making a spreadsheet of the different properties that you're comparing. And again, the superior inferior gets a bit opinionated, but that's pretty much what you do.
Step number 3 is paying close attention to the market. So the market is constantly changing. So if you're comparing apples with apples like we talked about earlier, and you're looking at old data, it can skew the results. So try and aim to utilize data within the last 3 months. Best case scenario, 6 months if you're finding it difficult to find other properties to compare. Step number 4 is researching similar sales in the area. So Jaden, walk me through what this looks like.
Yeah, so you want to see other properties that have sold recently in a suburb, but then dive a little bit deeper. You want to check out how long the property was on the market. So if it was on the market for ages, it was on there for a year, maybe there's something wrong. Maybe that market's a little bit slow, and you might be able to use that to make a bit of a lower offer. If the property sold really quickly, then maybe the market's starting to take off and move a bit faster, so it's worth looking at. The other stat you want to check out is vendor discounting. So that's the difference between what the property price was originally listed at and what it originally sold for. So if vendor discounting is really high, it might mean the market's a bit slow and people are having to reduce their sale price to sell quicker. If vendor discounting is lower, it means the stuff's moving, so you get in there quick.
Step number 5 is researching potential rental income. So as a first homeowner, why is this important to me?
Well, realistically, you're buying a place, but I don't think it's going to be a forever home unless you intend on being there for the next 50 years.
It's been 84 years.
Equally, if you're buying a place, you're either eventually going to rent it or you're going to sell it and buy a bigger property. So you need to be thinking about the people that are either going to be renting it from you or buying it in the future. And the person that buys in the future could be an investor, which is why knowing what the potential rental income could be is important. Even though you're moving in there, you're going to know what it's going to be like if you're going to turn it to an investment property down the track, or what it could be like for someone that wants to buy the property. So like Nathan said, similar looking for sales, go on realestate.com.au, look at the rental section and check out what a similar 3-bedroom house in that area is renting for.
For point number 5, researching potential rental income, there's really 2 ways of doing that. One is going back to that walk score report that we mentioned last week, and this has some recent rentals in and around the same suburb that gives you an idea. Now, this isn't super accurate. So for example, the property we're looking at is in Tarragindi. This is showing me properties in Maruka. The best way around that is just to jump on realestate.com.au, go to the rental section, put in 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom and hit search. And this will let you know on what the properties are renting for in Tarragindi. So 445, 3 bedroom, that's got 2 car spaces, so maybe that's slightly superior. 425, 420, so 311, 480, looks probably a bit bigger, 420. So you'd be pretty comfortable in saying you're going to get about 420 rent per week for this property. And that's a good way to sort of value it. As a little bonus there, you can also use SQM research to check out the rental vacancy rate. So this is how many properties are currently vacant in the current market. And looking at sort of the trend, Tarragindi's obviously down. It's only 1.8% vacancy, which is really, really low. So it's obviously a very good sign when you're looking at it.
And lastly, some common mistakes to avoid. The first one we see so much is the emotional purchase.
Sometimes there's so much beauty in the world.
When you really fall in love with the property, you really get blindsided by the fact that you might be overpaying the property based on what's in the area. This is a common thing that we see. What's another thing that we see a lot of there, Jaden?
Yeah, I think being influenced by the agent is another really common one. So the agents, lovely people, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but take their opinion as a grain of salt.
What's nice about this home is that it opens up to the outside. So that it kind of brings the outside inside.
Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. What we do is that they have lots of glass windows.
Right.
So that it
right.
appears, even though you're inside, that you have a feeling that you're outside still too.
Okay, but where are we now? Inside
We're
or
inside.
outside?
inside.
So if they're saying it's really busy, it's really not, it's that. Do your own independent research. Even if they give you a building and pest report, I reckon get your own, because you don't know. You want to have your separation, you want to have your own team there, you want to have your independent research, because at the end of the day, you're spending a few $100,000 and you don't want to waste your money.
Spot on, and that probably comes down to the last one, which is poor research. So we've given you information earlier in the video to take on board when researching property. If it's done right, you know you're going to get a good deal. If it's done poorly, you might be overpaying.
I think I want my money back.
So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you have anything else, feel free to hit us up at huntergalloway.com.au.